Sige, sige. Oh my God. Re-record pala to.
So, Poppy, kilala niyo na yung ating guest speaker tonight. So, hindi na kailangan i-introduce. So, Rome, take it away.
Sige. Magandang gabi sa inyo. I hope I will be sharing something useful for to add to the adventure you are in, no? And I am very happy also to be able to reveal, if you want, a little more something from within, no? The life that God made me live, no? So allow me to share my screen to guide me in my presentation. Yan. Nakikita niyo?
Yes, yes.
Dali, ha? Yan. So, nilagyan ko ng title tong presentation ko, My Life's Golden Thread. No? I was born from a couple with no professional degree, but have both mastered the art of raising 12 children with dignity and pride. I was born on July 27, 1966, the 8th of the 12 siblings. But due to an unfortunate circumstance, I was registered on April 27, 1967. All the while I was celebrating my birthday, July 27, till I reached high school when I discovered the legal dates. From then on, April 27 became the official date known to be my birthday. No? You see here the title, Life as a Puzzle. No? And I will be presenting my story and all the circumstances in my life that are pieces of the one puzzle. This photo was taken after my baptism on March 14, 1971. I was then 4 years old. I don't want to, to go into the detail why I was baptized late. I think there is no explanation needed to this date because it is part of the whole puzzle of my life. It's a particular moment, a very special one in my life, you know, although I was already 4 years old and I was able to follow, if you want, the rite of my baptism, and it has marked a very strong, if you want, it has etched a very significant moment in my life. The pieces of my life story, some may appear more beautiful than the others, but the majority are odd-shaped that are difficult to match together. First, we go to this. Basurahan yan. Nakatambak yung mga basura. No? We were living in a place near a dump site in San Fernando, Pampanga. Since I was then the youngest, bunso, whenever my family, my older brothers and sisters, my mom and dad would run to to the dump site, I was always inside the cart, no? And there is a makeshift barong-barong where they will leave me there and play inside the cart. And while I wait for them as they gather recyclable materials as our means of living. I was growing up, no, and I remember that my mom uh, would bring me to the market, no, sa palengke, para tulungan siya kasi nagtitinda siya ng mga vegetables, sometimes isda, no, fish. And usually when she goes around, no, she would leave me in a small area in the market, no, where I would wait for him. In the meantime, I would also sell what is being left by my mom. Due to financial constraint, of course, I finished elementary and then I went to high school. I needed to join my friends in selling sampaguita and sweepstakes to sustain my school needs, no, during my high school. No? So as a young guy, I was exposed at an early age to the difficulty, to the harshness that life offers, because we were living truly in a very extreme poverty. You know? And I remember having inside me, within me, a kind of rebellion towards those who I see are rich, or perhaps their houses are bigger and more beautiful than ours. No? So I was growing up with that kind of anger also towards the rich people. And definitely, there were several questions, no, that were crossing my mind. And of course, like, why is it that we are poor? And why is it that they are rich? Why is it that we eat we eat from the refuse of the people? No, because my mom at a certain point, you have to remember, no, that dump site was the dump site of Clark Air Base. No, so you can imagine uh, mga PX expired goods, no, from the US, and my mom and my siblings would gather them and bring them home, and good, no one died by eating the canned goods, for example, and we all survived. But one thing is certain, the pieces of my life was made by a brilliant artist whose every brush stroke, every moment of my life has been done with the greatest care and expertise. At a young age, I know I was aware that there's something beyond the poverty we were in, that there is something beyond the poverty, and that there must be a plan that is unknown to me. So when I was in fourth year high school, in fact, third year high school going to fourth year, I became, very much taken, by the protests in the streets. So I started to join at my young age the protests in the streets against the government, for example. A particular circumstance happened, and I think that was the last rally I attended. And the circumstance, that was very remarkable, if you want, that was etched in my memory even up to now. At a certain point, we were surrounded. We were in Angeles City, no, and we were marching from a long road, long walk. I remember, I remember Father Ambo David then, very very young, newly ordained, and many nuns, many peasants, no, fisher folks, and we stopped to stage the last leg of the rally in a plaza in Angeles City. No? And at a certain point, with my friend, um, we noticed that we were the building that was surrounding the plaza. Um, there were military people with their guns pointed at us. No? And I felt a little, if you want, no, I felt a certain fear from within. And I was telling my friend, um, I do not want to die here. Because any moment, any moment, any untoward incident that the rallies would do, for sure there will be chaos and some lives will be taken as it was happening before. Many of the young people were disappearing then. And so I told my friend I would like to leave, the crowd, and I headed home. My friend was telling me, "Go, feel free to leave." So I left with that uh, dilemma from within. I wanted to fight for justice. I wanted to fight for, equality, that there will be no more poverty. And yet I am leaving the group where, I thought would give me the possibility to obtain what we were fighting for in the street. I don't know what happened, but at a certain point on my way home, I suddenly found myself entering the cathedral in San Fernando. No? And there I found myself kneeling down and my closed eyes. And suddenly, a thought from my heart, a thought coming from my heart just spontaneously came, no? That I will no longer march and shout in the street for justice, for peace, for equality against poverty, but I will shout this with my life. I didn't have any idea how to achieve that, but it was so strong that while I was going home, I found so much joy within me. I I thought that I have found something. I understood something, but I didn't know how to materialize it. God alone knows what the finished product would be like. After a year of pause, after my graduation in high school, uh, my father got sick. He had an illness, and I needed to stop for a year uh, because I needed to help sa bahay, to find a job. Together with my brother, we looked for a job and we started helping in the family, in my family. After that year of pause, I was able to obtain, a scholarship grant, 100%, to pursue my college. It was I was informed by the bishop himself because I was introduced to the bishop, and the bishop of the Cathedral of San Fernando um, asked me if I was interested to study. I planned when I was younger, then I wanted to become a civil engineer, but the circumstances did not permit me to become a civil engineer. Instead, Fortunately or unfortunately, I was given this scholarship, and the only scholarship that was available for me to pursue college degree was BS education, major in religious education. So I grabbed the opportunity and took the exam, hoping that I will pass, with much hope, that I will pass to pursue my college, even if I did not like to be a teacher. I did not like the course then. But I took it, and I was granted a 100% full scholarship without paying any single centavo. In college, as you will see from these photos, in college, I joined the theater arts. I joined the performing arts chorale, the Knights of the Altar, the Catholic Action, the Student Catholic Action, and I was a very prominent student leader in the university. So it was in these years of my college that many things in my being as Rome truly came out from a very, from a very simple boy from the dump site selling vegetables and then selling sampaguita and sweepstakes. Never thought that when I would enter college, I would be able also to bring out. I mean, it was God, uh, probably giving me the possibility to bring out the gifts that He has given me. I was very much known then. Then the light entered, penetrated, destroyed, and rebuilt my own little story. It was the meeting with the ideal that I understood that justice, love, equality, yung pakikibaka, shall start. Nakita ko, it is through the ideal that these, the things that I was fighting for in the street, will be concretized in my life. But this will be concretized if I live them concretely, starting with my family at home. Here also, since I was a student leader and I was a member of the Student Catholic Action, although I already met the ideal and I was trying to live the word of life, I was very much active in the organization, in the school, in the university, that at a certain point I became associated with the student activism, And one day, because of my association with the student activists, I was compromised. My studies was compromised because at a certain point, the League of Filipino Students, who I was also very much close with, made a picket outside the university, and it aggravated to the indefinite closure of the university. In the meantime, all the student activists that were identified because of what they have done were all dismissed and kicked out by the administration. No, they were. One day, one day, I was called by the Vice President for Academic Affairs, since I was a scholar of the university. I was confronted. And he told me, are you going to continue with your activism, or you would like to have a bright future. It was a moment of, it was a dilemma on my part. But through the light of the ideal, I was able also to see, you know, the light in everything that was happening around me. In fact, as you see, this is a comics that was published in 1988 in New City, because I shared my experience, you know, during the Gen Fests. A reluctant scholar, you know, that I was able to assure the Vice President for Academic Affairs that I will be mediating with the other student leaders and to the administration. And there was it was a beautiful moment also that I was able to open a dialogue. Probably because I was already, you know, I was already trying to live the gospel. I was already trying to live that the charism, no, the charism of unity that we were able to put together, many of the student leaders, and we were able to have a dialogue with the administration, with the president, until we reached an agreement. We reached an agreement, and it was accepted by the administration, and finally, the university was reopened. So it was a very a very special moment on my part, you know, where I could see truly the ideal that has penetrated my every being, no, was also able to live in this crucial moment of my life. Definitely, sabi nga, ni Kiara has always told us when we were Gen, love and I will manifest myself. No, I was trying to live as a Gen then, still, and of course, I was attending the Gen. During weekend, I would go to Manila, to Santa Mesa to attend and go to the Gen Center, stay with the Gen overnight, and return home, no, with Pampanga. And little by little, how would you say it? Yeah, little by little, I felt that there was a light, no, that was guiding me towards an uncertain path, no, toward an uncertain path. And I started to understand something particular that I should give attention to, you know, to go deeper in my rapport with God. The light of the ideal made me discover little by little that He has planned for me. So as I went on in the various stages of my life, from the moment when I met the ideal, I started living as a Gen, no? My involvement in the university, those things. I understood that there is only one thing to do, to live well, live love, and live my life for God. And therefore, the search is started. I began to understand, know that I have to give my yes to God, even my life, who is love, which I discovered in my meeting with the movement, who made my life, a story of love. In a retreat in Baguio, as we were preparing for my graduation, I had a clear understanding that God was calling me to give my life to Him. And since, you know, it wasn't clear to me what road to take, I started to search. For example, I was very much attracted to the life of the Franciscan way, because I admired so much St. Francis of Assisi. I wanted to become the poverello, of Pampanga. And then God was very much involved, no? And then I found myself also getting involved with the Blessed Sacrament Fathers. I started going to Santa Cruz, no, where the congregation of the Blessed Sacrament Fathers was, and I became very involved with those young people who were searching for their vocation. And I was being nourished by a particular and holy priests of the Blessed Sacrament. At the same time, in that year also, a friend of mine went to Italy because he entered a missionary congregation, and we were constantly in contact with one another. He would write to me, he would share to me his experiences, how beautiful a missionary life would be, and he was sending me beautiful photos, and all these things. So at a certain point, I was also pushed to apply to this congregation. But one thing is this: there was never in the plan to become a Focolarino. It never entered my mind, perhaps because I did not have a clear idea then who is a Focolarino. Because I was young, I was living. I never had a probably personal rapport with any Focolarino. The Mariapolis of 1988 was the turning point in my search to giving my life to God. Because at a certain point, I met a gent from Las Piñas, and he told me that Ray, who was the gen assistant in my time, was looking for me, and that Ray wanted me to be present during a special Mariapolis in Tagaytay. That was at the end of April until May 1. Those were 5 days Mariapolises. So, according to this gen, that this is a special Mariapolis, and Ray advised him to look for me until this gen found me in Baclaran, where I was staying with my cousins. I started to help in my cousin's RTW store. And I visited Muntinlupa, then the parish there in Muntinlupa, and I met this gen, and he told me that I have to be in Tagaytay for the Mariapolis. We know nothing happens by chance. I could have kept from being seen, being found by anyone from the opera, but yet just a visit to a person, to a gen in Muntinlupa, everything started to unfold, because it was actually that Mariapolis was, they call it the vocation Mariapolis. There were many people, but it was only limited to the intern members, because as I learned that they will be talking about the vocations. So there were no adherents, I think. But the SVD gym was still full then. What was special in that Mariapolis was, for me, was the experience of a Focolarino. It was Angelino. Then Angelino was sent by Kara here because Chenja needed to rest because of the issue of his health. And Angelino came, one of the second generation of the first Poppy. And in that Mariapolis, Angelino shared his experience as someone, he was narrating his story, just like I'm narrating my story now. The experience, it struck me. Angelino, for me, made a very radical choice to give everything to God. And he described himself as in his narration, he said, I was like a fresh flower cut from the garden and put it at the altar of Mary where it has to bloom, where it is to bloom. That image of a fresh flower picked and put there at the altar and bloom struck me very much because I thought Angelino was narrating his story only addressed to me. Why? Because I just graduated then. I graduated April, no? And I was in great search. And I wanted to give my life totally to God. But I didn't know where. So I said, he was talking to me. And I told myself, I want to go deeper with this kind of life. And so I asked Ray if I could, after the Mariapolis, May 1, if I could stay in the Gen House to be able to verify, and deepen what I understood during the Mariapolis. Ray, with all his openness and enthusiasm, found a way for me to stay in the Gen House. Although the Gen House was already fully booked, because usually every after Mariapolis, the Gen House is fully booked. No? And Ray found a way to make me stay. No? He said, okay, you stay for a month from May 1 to May 31 to verify the experience I had during the Mariapolis. Before the end of this 1 month stay in Tagaytay, I told a Focolarino, Stephen Law, who was here then, that how would you say it? Something has blossomed within me. And I was seeing this blossoming as a reflection of the life of the poppy that were surrounding me during this 1 month experience. And so I talked to Stephen and I asked him whether I could continue my stay in Tagaytay to be able to make an experience, with the other gen who were preparing to become Focolarinos. Stephen was very cunning. He told me, because I narrated my story, and he knew my parents were waiting for me because I was the only one who graduated from college, and the hope of my father that I will be the one to, like a savior in the family. And he said, if you leave your family, what will happen to your parents? Your father who is sick? You cannot. As a son, newly graduated, you have to find a job. He was acting like a devil's advocate, And so I don't know what happened, but I said, I know, I don't know what I said to Stephen, but I was convinced. I was able to convince Stephen that I would go home and I will tell my parents that I'm going to enter the Focolare. I mean, to make an experience in the Scoleta, to prepare myself to become a Focolare. And so Stephen was off guard and wala na siyang magawa. And then they agreed with the Poppy, and they allowed me to go home and to return. So I left the Gen School before May 30. I think that was May 29, because May 30 was a feast of our in our place, fiesta. And usually during fiesta, the whole family gathers together. You know this very well. And I thought it was an occasion for me to be able to, to tell everyone of my discovery, of my decision. Unfortunately, when I went home, I talked to my parents, especially to my tatay, and my tatay did not understand, did not comprehend, because for him, I was still the savior of the family. I was still the savior of the family, and I have to work because I cannot leave them in that situation. But when I told my mother about it, and I talked to my mother, and I told her that I seem to have understood, that God was calling me and He wants my life for Him. And my mom said, "If you are happy, then go." But my father did not agree. And in fact, I was supposed to leave May 31 actually, and they knew I was returning to Tagaytay May 31. But that evening of May 31, we had a very strong argument with my father, and he started getting mad at me, shouting at me, and I could not understand, that why these things has to happen. But I was convinced. I was convinced with what I told Stephen, that I will return because I felt strongly that God was calling me. And so without the blessing of my father, on the 31st of May, 1988, I escaped home. I escaped home, and I was welcomed in a new home in the Scoleta. And this was a very particular, special moment because May 31 is the Feast of the Magnificat. I didn't know that it was the Feast of a Magnificat. It was very funny because when I arrived here, and an extern then saw me, very early in the morning, because I left home at 3 o'clock in the morning under the rain. I needed to take the bus, and no one knew in my family that I was living. I escaped, and when I arrived here in Tagaytay, this extern started singing the Magnificat. Ang puso ko'y nagpupuri. And there I understood that it was the Feast of the Magnificat. It was so strong. And I understood that that this journey that I have undertaken from this moment on will be accompanied. That I will be accompanied by Mary. In December 1989, I left together with 3 other externs for Lopiano. Before leaving Lopiano, siguro that was November or October, I wrote to Quereto, and I poured out, my heart because, I am very much fascinated with studies. I'm passionate about reading a lot of books, and somehow I thought that my passion for studies may hinder me, may block me, in following God. And so I narrated this in a letter that I wrote to Quereto. in October of 1988. And when I arrived in December 19, uh, he wrote this letter in December 19, but it arrived to me because I arrived in um, in Lopiano in December. Yeah, in December, the end of December. So it came to me when I arrived there in Lopiano. Parang sinalubong ako ni Quereto with his letter. Yeah, with his letter. So um, here, in Lopiano, um, some yeah, Quereto replied, Quereto replied to me on December 13, 1989, and he was saying um, that I have to make a totalitarian choice, to build in the world and in the church the most beautiful reality that can ever exist. And that is Jesus in the midst. Sabi niya gano'n. No? Kasi sabi niya, it's an introduction ng letter niya. Thank you for your experience, and your experience brought me back with the experience of Kiara when she left everything in the attic and followed God, and made a totalitarian choice. And this is my wish for you, to make a totalitarian choice, to build in the world the most beautiful reality. Now, that is Jesus in the midst. So that was Quereto. These are we are the four Poppy, no? The four Pinoys who were with me in the school. It was very interesting, in Lopiano when I started the school. It marked the beginning of many discoveries. For example, probably because, as you see in the picture, we were immersed. We were in my course only. This was the preparatory. The photo with this Poppy is a preparatory course. It's an Italian course. We were just more than 20, but in our course, we were more than 70. In our course, we are more than 70, and we are the ones studying Italian. Probably because of that, the impact of being surrounded, of being together, living together with the Poppy coming from all over the world, made me discover the universality of the calling, of the vocation of the Focolarino. That a Focolarino, as Kara say, it's true. I touched it there. I saw it with my eyes. A Focolarino is a global person. It's no longer that boy, in Pampanga. If I have to be a Focolare, I have to be a global person to live behind, to live behind this. And a Focolare is a bearer of a new culture, the universal fraternity. Because you cannot imagine, now you are preparing, Poppy, you are preparing to enter, if you want, the Focolare. And you will only see very few Poppy, Pinoys, But in Lopiano, to make an experience, to make a 3-year experience, you are immersed with these different cultures, and you begin to understand that you are being formed. I have my culture, they have their culture. We are being formed to a new culture, and this is the culture of universal fraternity. And another thing, siguro, that came very strongly to me is that I am a man given totally to God. Remember that initial feeling that I had. I felt that I was called to give myself totally to God. It was in Lopiano, actually, that it became very clear to me. It became very evident that I have to become that man totally given to God. And Chiara called it a Focolarino is a man of God, totally free person at the service of the church, Of course, through the Focolare. Giving, I also wrote to Kiara in 1991. No, this was after 1989, 1991. So I really made a very long experience already in Lopiano, being formed as a Focolarino. And in those span of 2 years that I was there, I started to, to realize many things, not only to discover, but I also started to realize many things. The profundity, for example, of a relationship, personal and profound relationship with God. And in my letter, at a certain point, because at a certain, I felt so much inadequate in front of this greatness of the calling of God, of the calling of the vocation, a man of God, totally given to God. I entered like in a crisis, and I could no longer understand at a certain point. I was confused, and I was asking myself whether I will be able to make it or not. I got sick also in the piano. But then, God takes all these things and put them together, as part of the menu he was preparing, so that he can produce the dish that he may want. In my letter to Kiara, I mentioned a discovery that I made, that it is Jesus forsaken. It is Jesus forsaken, the source, the root of my sanctity. And Kiara replied, no. It was also in my letter that I asked Kiara, I want to go ahead, even if I could not understand things. I want to go ahead. And please, I request you to give me a word of life to help me live this journey. And a word of life and an ideal name. And Kiara gave me an ideal name, a word of life, to confirm what I have written to him, coming from the letter of St. Paul to the Philippians. Just one thing, forgetting what lies behind, but straining forward to what lies ahead. I continue my pursuit towards the goal. And Kiara underlined it in her letter, the goal to sanctity, Jesus forsaken. And then Kiara thought to confirm your name as your ideal name, which has a new significant, Rome. Corro, that's ro, verso la meta, which means I run. Corro means I run. Verso, that means towards. Meta means goal. I run towards the goal. After long 3 years in Lopiano, I needed to say goodbye to that beautiful experience I made in Lopiano. Of course, only with one desire, to help build the opera where I will be assigned. Leaving Lopiano, I didn't know where I would go. In fact, my campo Focolare told me, you go attend the retreat in Castel Gandolfo together with all the other Poppy. And then after the retreat, you return here and you stay in your Focolare here. Only that, when I arrived in Lopiano, Casavita, I think it was Chun who talked to me then. And no, it was not yet Chun. It was Silvio Danio, Silvio Danio, who talked to me and said, you are going to Cebu as your destination. So I left Cebu with this one desire, to live, to build the opera where I will go. And where? It is Cebu. In Cebu, in 1993 to 2000, and then 2003, 2004. There in Cebu, the start of my Focolare life. I was accompanied first by Ray, who was assigned then as the Capozona, and then immediately Wim Van Zielen came, no, because Ray was called to be the Capozona of Manila. So that was the start of my Focolare life, training my heart to embrace the whole opera. No? It was also the flourishing of my professional career, no? Because immediately when I arrived to Cebu, I applied in different universities. First, I was hired as a guidance counselor in the University of Cebu. But then, since it was not my line of, it wasn't my job to be a guidance counselor, I applied in the University of San Carlos to teach theology, and there I was accepted, and I arrived. No, I became a very, if you want, no, I was equipped also my professional preparation. I reached the level of senior instructor of the university, you know, in the department. You know. The year before I came to Cebu, I wrote to Kiara. You know, that was December, I think, and I was asking her if she could give me. Remember, I said, no, when I came back to Tagaytay in 1988, that my journey will always be guided by Mary. And so I felt the need to write to Clara before leaving Lopiano and ask her now for a litany, so that this start of my Focolare life may truly be guided by Mary. No? And so Clara replied in February, and she gave me this litany. Mary, fount of unity. So if you want, truly my life has been marked, no, by the presence of Mary from the very beginning, that holy journey, and until this moment, no, where Kiara asked me, parang, ito yung sundan mo. No? Wala kang ibang titingnan, ito yung susundan mo. If you want to learn how to build unity, look at Mary. Look at Mary. She is the fount of unity. At a certain point in the history of the branch of the Focolare, in 1996, no, it was the start at the end of 1995 until 1996. There were many popi who were leaving the Focolare. And in fact, in the Focolare of Cebu, there were 3 popi, no, who left one after the other. No? And for me, it was so painful. It was so painful to see this popi leave the Focolare. I have lived with them. I have gotten to know them. They were also like me, struggling to live for unity, to build Jesus in the midst. And yet they were not able to make it. And I felt from within, like it was like a push. No? It was like a push that if I want the popi in my Focolare, but also around the world, to remain and be faithful to the vocation, no, to the Focolare, I felt a push from within. I want to give my life. I want to offer my life as a payment. If God wants it, I want to offer my life as a payment. No? So there was this readiness to completely give my life for the popi. And I wrote to Kiara this desire. If it was necessary that my life I will offer so that the Pope may remain faithful to their vocation. And to my surprise, Kiara wrote me with her own you know, signature. Before it was always Ellie. And now this letter arrives with her signature, thanking me for my letter and with the joy of knowing, of having gotten to know that I was adhering fully to what she said, to be faithful to the vocation. And in fact, she said, you have expressed concretely that you would like to offer your life for them. And then at the end of the letter, she said, I agree, Romain, as long as it is conditioned, as it is conditioned by the will of God, by the will of God. So that was a very strong letter. And I went on now with that. So I developed a special love and passion to live for the Pope in my Focolare. And then in 2000, I was sent to Pakistan to make an experience. And according to, because I was preparing then for my perpetual vows. So I was asked by Casavita to make a new experience, to leave Cebu after a long period being the Gen assistant, living with them, generating life here and there among the Gen. And yeah, it was not easy for me to go to a place in Pakistan. But it was also a moment of growing deeper in my union with God. It was a period of initial preparation for the final vows that I have to make. And in fact, this afternoon, while I was preparing for my experience, I checked on my folders that I have, and I found an email I sent to Chun. Chun was then the in charge of the Pope of Asia, who was in Casabita. Dated August 7, 2000. So I have this letter with me. 22 years ago, I wrote to Chun. And partly, I said to Chun, that I made new discoveries in Pakistan, and it has helped me to go deeper in my relationship with God. And I wanted to continue, and I said that this is a very beautiful experience, and as if Jesus is opening up a new page in my life. Unfortunately, before before I reached 1 year of my stay in Pakistan, I got sick because that was year 2000, and I was already seeing Philippines, then very advanced nation, very progressive nation, and Pakistan was 20 years backward from the Philippines in that time. So you can imagine the environment I was in, and probably because making myself one with the people around, eating here and there, we didn't know that the water we were drinking was contaminated. The food that we were eating were not properly prepared, cooked. So I got sick, and I started, it started it's a long period. It's not a long period, months of truly physical suffering. And I became already disturbed emotionally, but also psychologically. I was losing light, if you want, because of that physical pain I was undergoing. And Casavita requested me. In fact, we had a retreat with Hans. He came to Pakistan to meet with us. And there, Hans told me, Rome, we do not want you to die here. You better go to the Philippines, return there, and continue your experience where there are Muslim community, where are there Muslim people. And so in 2001 and 2003, I was in Davao. Together with Freud, we opened the men's Focolare. And this stay in Davao was characterized by constant sewing because, we were only two. And then there was Asilino, who was an extern then. Then later on, dumating din si Jun Pagal. But it was a constant sewing, going. We were traveling a lot, shaping up the different communities here and there, the men's community particularly. But it was also a rediscovery of the divine comedy. That in all the sufferings that we were undergoing, the difficulties we needed to confront, we needed to face, were part of this divine comedy. That we cry with tears in our eyes, we continue to love, we continue to smile, we continue to love. We continue to go ahead. But even here, probably because although I was teaching in Ateneo de Davao, I had a very good position also, but probably because that impact in Pakistan that I brought in Davao has not totally been healed, has not been totally healed. And I became again disturbed. And so I was called back. I was requested by Casavita to go to Cebu and to stay in the Centro Zona where there was Freddy again. And it was it was in Davao actually. It was in Davao where I went to do my perpetual vow, where I was called to do my perpetual vow. This was a very significant moment precisely because I thought that all these years that I have lived, that I've tried to live with all the failures, faults I have committed in life, were all summarized with that deep choice and exclusive choice for Jesus forsaken. So this was an intimate encounter with Kiara, sealing all the years of my life in Focolare, with her words. There on stage when I was called, you see my hand, talagang claps the hand of Kiara. It was a moment of colloquium. And Kiara was telling me, I am with you. Be faithful to the spouse. I can only utter, si, grazie, Kiara. I don't know what else did I say. I do not know what else Kiara told me, but that moment is etched in my soul forever until now. And then I returned to Cebu in 2000. And in 2004, off to the center, and I worked in Casa Vita till my return to the Philippines in 2006. 2006, and today, you know a little bit of my life, but it will be shared in another moment because it's too long already. So if you have questions, I will be very happy to answer them. So, you have 15 minutes more or 19 minutes. You want to tell me something? Eugene, you want to tell me something? I hope wala dyan si Anne, ha? Wow naman. Salamat. Do you have a question? No, one thing I forgot, no, Poppy, no, you are under formation and you are following, no, this life to be in the Focolare. You have to put in your mind or in your soul, no, that here there is no special seat assigned to you. What I mean is that if you want to be a Focolare, no, you have to be a Focolare. Hindi pwedeng mag-sitting pretty. Things are different. And your vocation, talaga, your vocation is very essential to the Focolare, especially to the Poppy of communal life. The vocation of the married Poppy is essential, indispensable, so that the vocation of the single Focolare may truly flourish and blossom. This is why I said there is no special seat for you in the Focolare because you are together with us in this vocation. Oh, tama na
Thanks,
yung...
Rome.
Yes.
Yeah. I I can say that
Who
I've
is
seen
speaking?
you,
Who is speaking? Ah, Eugene.
Eugene.
Okay. Okay.
I cannot turn on my video kasi ang ano na signal.
Okay, no worries. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing kasi from the start, I guess I really felt very personally intertwined, no? In your experiences, especially those times when you arrive in Cebu, in the time that when you arrive in Cebu. And I can really see that we've grown together, in this ideal. You helped me a lot. You helped us a lot in our in this ideal life, no? And I guess, yeah, your experiences on suffering, on giving your life, to the Poppy, to the Gen, is for me, in a very special way, it also leave a very big mark in my life because as a Popo, you really gave your life for us when we were younger. And until now, no? Until now. And sometimes or in those times that I feel na living this life is quite challenging. I I I go back to our experiences, our communion of soul, and it helped me a lot, to also start again and believing that this is an ideal given freely, a gift, from God, and together with you and the Poppy, this gift must really be nurtured within us, and make it as a whole package, our life as a gift, I guess a gift back to God.
Mm.
So there are many things in in our journey together. When I was in college and early working, that I could not forget those moments. That and I think those were the moments really born from your suffering, understanding in the light of Jesus. No? That you also shared to me and to the Jen also. How Jesus really mold us, no, to become better persons. Or yeah, thank you very much, and I really can relate all of your experiences, no, because in many ways we lived it together, no, we live it together, no? So yep, thank you very much, Ron. I really am very happy, yeah, listening to your story again.
Thank you. Thank you. You have to remember, my life is not all suffering. You see me, I suffered a lot, definitely, but you see, there is more joys. There is more joys than suffering. Because I mean, Jesus gives a hundredfold in life, and I could not ask for more. There is nothing. It's a joy. It's a joy to live. Parang tinakot ko kayo, naging tameme kayo. Alwin, pati ikaw natakot ka.
Really, no. Really, what you have shared to us, it's really, I can affirm and attest na it's really true, no? That you live a totalitarian life and you live for the opera and for the poppy, because my experiences, no, in meeting the ideal was made possible, no. Also, my first Focolarino that I meet in the ideal also was you. In that first Maria Police that I attended, no, in Cebu in '96. So thank you also for the for the love towards, no, to me during that time. I'm also in that period of like you, no, uh, confronted with the social realities at that time to do something also. But in that experience with you, no, being with me, the whole duration of the Maria Police, sitting beside me, it really brought out, no, Jesus in the midst, between us, because of your love, no, and I was able to see the light in that moment, and that grows, that light grows and grows until now. That brought me here. So I really thank you, and I do not know how many sufferings we give you during Argent life in your Argent life. Also, I remember I'm with you in opening the Focolare of Davao. No,
Davao.
I was the one who designed the tent outside,
Yeah, that's true.
and really, whenever confronted, yeah, like what Eugene had said, whenever me, no, personally confronted with difficulties, burden, no, and problems, no, in living the life, because our life is a beautiful life, no, but it's also complete with problems, difficulties, and all these things, no, because this is our life. I always remember, no, the experience that we had together, and yeah, really, no, you are a light to us up until now, and thank you for that love for Jesus forsaken that illuminates us. No, I can remember during those times you almost visited us every month in Bisca when we were studying here, and we just meet under the illumination of the street light.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Sleeping in the streets, Mamma Mia. And that was really beautiful, no?
Yeah.
Really beautiful. We shared experiences, beautiful experiences.
Mm, mm,
And that leaves an indelible mark in our life of us here now in this so now the gen that you cultured here already, some are already in the volunteers and the many vocations of the opera. So even some become a priest, no? So thank you very much, Rami, and let's continue.
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you. We have 8 minutes. Bunny, ganda naman ng puso mo. Kulay pink.
Sorry, account ni Margie. I'm using her gadget. We are in transit, sorry.
Sorry, sorry.
Pero wala akong na-miss dun sa shinare mo, no? Sobrang manghihinayang ako kung meron akong mamimiss. Thank you rin sa paalala ni Tito Nat. Ang galing, no? Kasi parang halos lahat kami dito meron kang, ano ba yun? Personal experience, no? Relationship. Ako din naalala ko strongly nung nag-assist ako sa iyo sa Baguio before, if you still remember. Then now I realized, feeling ko excuse mo lang yun for me to be able to attend the Mariapolis. No? Kasi Baguio, walang pera, pero you asked me to assist you, tapos meron ako mako-contribute sa Mariapolis that time. No? So sobrang galing. No? Kasi inimagine ko rin yung pains, yung sufferings, halimbawa doon sa Pakistan, lahat ng down moments na na-contribute sa nung experience. Parang hindi siya nagma-manifest by any way sa itsura mo ngayon, ano? Yes, no, kasi yung Romel lagi nating kilala, di ba? Well-dressed, prim and proper, highly intellectual, mga ganun. No? Pero now I understand na ano to, no? Parang fruit nung lahat ng mga experiences, no? And really lahat yun magiging possible because you offered yourself to God. No, siguro ito yung 100 folds na na-receive mo. Natakot ba ako? Partly, no, nitong latter part ng sinishare mo, pero kailangan yun, no? Kasi parang hindi conscious choice yung pagpili namin ng vocation, no? Hindi siya, kagaya sa hindi siya relax lang. No? Kailangan aware kami at alam namin yung pinapasok naming vocation. At I would like to thank you, no, for reminding us na ganun yung pinapasok namin. So, yun. Thank you for letting us know you better. No, maraming salamat.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Who else? Onins.
Sige, maikli lang. Parang eulogy parang eulogy yung
Oo nga, nagtataka.
Anyway, hindi. Sa akin, no, madaming first time sa stories mo na narinig ko, no. And I really appreciate na nalaman ko ito ngayon. Biro mo ilang years na kita kilala, no, when I was a Gen extern sa Tagaytay, no. May mga moments na we had talk together, pero nalaman ko kung saan nanggagaling rin yung tawag dito, yung pag nagbibigay ka ng some sort of counseling or your words, it comes from your experience, personal experience. Parang there's a personal encounter, hindi lang theoretical eh. Kasi you experience suffering. And na-appreciate ko with all the tawag dito, the experiences of the married Poppy and the Poppy in this lesson, no. Hindi lang na-inspire ako, no, to live this ideal, no, of Tiara. But at the same time that I really appreciate na I should live well not for myself only. Kasi I should live well, love Jesus forsaken. But at a certain point, kami yung parang next in line na parang we would be able to help other people if we would be able to overcome yung sufferings, no? With the love of with loving Jesus forsaken. Kasi yung sa society, when you're confronted with suffering, no, sickness, gamutin agad yan o solusyonan na not to live well. But in your experiences, constant renewal, no, pati radical love. Yun yung ano yun yung ano yun yung gospel na tinuturo ni Jesus to be radical. And ang hirap talaga. In my experience, ang hirap. Kaya kailangan to be able to sustain yung desire na ito, no, siguro through the experiences of all of wiser people with much experience, no, kasi we are still on the journey and continuous naman rin, we learn, no. Itong school na to really helped me a lot personally in tawag renewing my yes, no, kasi hindi to katulad sabi mo Rame, hindi to madali na kailan na pa-banjing ka lang na relax ka lang, no. Commitment kasi na to no, katulad nakakatakot at the same time tawag dito it's an adventure also that you're not parang may assurance na hindi ka mag-isa. Na Jesus is with you through your brothers, no? Through Jesus in the midst, no? Yun, na-appreciate ko and then naintindihan ko lalo yung mga experience ito. Bakit ganito yung taong ito? Bakit ganito? Yung pala yung mayroon parang there's yung katulad yung sinabi mo na yung artist, no? Divine artist dun sa ano. Ito yung paano i-form ito. So, ako, no, kasi may mga moment of discouragement, no? And hindi pa kasi tapos yung Diyos naiintindihan ko lalo na hindi lang yung grasya na ikaw lang mag-isa mag-e-effort. May grasya rin yung Diyos mismo nagtumutulong sa iyo, no? Lalo na sa sa bokasyong ito, no? Yun lang, maraming salamat Rome, no, na narinig kong itong story mo, no, after so many years, no. Yun. Siguro yun na, hindi na ako mag-eulogy.
Thank you, Nins.
Thank you, Rami, for this. Marami pang pagdadaanan at with your encouragement sa kanila, siguro they can overcome it. So, reminder lang sa 20. So you made arrangements with your Focolare what time you're arriving para ma-prepare yung place. So okay. So kita tayo sa 20.
Wow. All the best, all my unity for your experience sa Focolare. Tandaan nyo, pupunta kayo ng Focolare without any seats, reserved seats for you, No reserved seats for you.
Thank you, Romy. We're expecting the part 3, hanggang 2006 lang yun.
Itutuloy. Maraming salamat, Romy.
Sa podcast raw niya. Podcast niya.
Sa podcast ko. You watching the podcast. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Poppy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you.